There are really three types of farmers, ranchers, or ag business owners that exist today. And inside of today's video, we're going to talk about each one of them in detail. And at the end of the video, it's going to be up to you to determine which one are you. Now, the first bucket or type of farmer, rancher, ag business owner that we're going to talk about today, my friends, is the impulsive farmer. Now, when we think about this word impulsive here, one very simple way to really diagnose whether or not you are an impulsive farmer is honestly just pull out your balance sheet. And when you look at your balance sheet, I want you to go through all of your debts there. And then as you're looking at these debts here, that's going to really show you on which ones you bought because you needed them versus which ones you bought just because they were nice to have, aka they were impulsive decisions, right? You justified to yourself in that moment why it was a good decision. Now, we have had countless people come into Legacy Farmer over the years that came in because this impulsive decision making had got them into a world of hurt financially. And at the end of the day, they had to change their ways. They had to change the way that they looked at their business. They had to change how they made decisions in order to turn things around. Because at the end of the day, the ultimate cost of being impulsive when it comes to your decisions is so much more than financial, guys. Yes, the first thing that's going to be impacted is your finances, but then think about how that decision, if you live in regret for making it or something like that, how does that bleed into other areas of your life and ultimately how you operate as a business owner? From my experience, again, working with these family farm operations across the country, it's never gotten anybody where they wanted to go. Being impulsive with the dollar amount that we're risking today and just the amount of money it takes to get things done, it turns out to be just a heavy weight on people. And a lot of people that I know deal with a lot of guilt and shame because they know at the end of the day, those impulsive decisions or things they bought or decisions they made without really thinking through it and having any type of strategy, it just cost them a lot more than just finances when it came to that level of impulsive decision. Now, the other side of this though too, guys, is one, you have to recognize whether or not you as a business owner are an impulsive decision maker, but also two, the people surrounding you, like your banker or your accountant or anybody else that you use as an advisor or consultant inside of your operation, you need to gauge whether or not they are impulsive as well. Because what we want to look for here, guys, and what we want to train all of our members and customers inside a Legacy Farmer to have is a level of awareness, right? To not react immediately to anything that's going on, to not get stories in their head and excuses or justifications as to why they need to pull the trigger and why they have to do it now. It's like buying a piece of ground. I don't know one farmer or rancher that when they were looking at buying a piece of ground, that it wasn't the absolute perfect piece of ground that they just had to have, right? We can create these stories here, which again, just builds this impulsive nature here that's going to push us into making that decision that maybe we haven't fully thought through yet. And the other thing, again, too, that you need to be checking yourself on is one, you need to have the awareness to know whether or not you're an impulsive decision maker, but how about the people surrounding you? Right? Are they really strategic thinkers? Are they thinking through these things? Or are they going to go along with whatever you say because they don't want to challenge you in any certain way? Right. And one thing I've always told people, when they were thinking about coming into Legacy Farmer is that we're not going to tell you what you want to hear. We're going to tell you what you need to hear, because most people today, they're only surrounded by people that will tell them what they want to hear, which just feeds that impulsive nature that they have there to pull the trigger on financial decisions that maybe they just haven't thought all the way through. So at the end of the day, when it comes to making any types of decisions, if you have this impulsive nature, you fall into that impulsive bucket through our discussion here today, you got to really consider the consequences that are going to come from this type of behavior, right? And again, it doesn't just stop at finances. It bleeds into every area of your life, and it could ultimately bleed some people to the point where, man, they're going to lose the family farm operation or they're going to lose the business altogether, because at the end of the day, these impulsive financial decisions, you can do it for a while, but eventually that road is going to come to an end and you're going to have to face reality. If you're not prepared for that, man, yeah, it could sink a business really, really fast. So you just need to be prepared for all the consequences that come here when you know that you have these inherent characteristics of being an impulsive decision maker. But again, though, too, the number one way to stop being an impulsive decision maker is to first have the awareness and acceptance that, hey, I do operate this way. That way, the next time you do face a decision, create some space, take a step back, reevaluate, go and consider all the possible outcomes, and just take some space to think at a deeper level about the situation. All right, the second type of bucket or farmer that we're going to be talking about today is the scared farmer. Now, we have had countless people come into Legacy Farmer over the years as well, where maybe their parents went through the 80s or they went through some massive financial struggles, and it's ultimately bred this level of just being scared inside of them to where they're scared to make any moves, right? And I'll use, one of our customers as an example that came in a few years ago, to where their parents were second generation, this customer is third generation, and they're motivated, right? They're ready to move forward. They're ready to, evolve the farm operation and the ranch and expand and do all these things here. But their parents were second generation, and their parents took over the farm in the 80s. And so their parents lived in this scarcity mindset. They did not want to do anything, didn't want to buy anything, anything, didn't want to take any actions. They wanted just to live this debt-free life, which, okay, I'm not saying that's bad, but at the end of the day, if you are wanting to build an operation that's going to live on for multiple generations in the future, well, if I'm recalling this correctly, generations get bigger from one generation to the next, right? There's more people involved in the family, which means if you have that many people coming back to the operation has to grow as well. And so if you're stuck in this place where you're just scared to make any decisions, yes, this could be the consequences going forward. Maybe it's not your immediate generation, but the next or the one following that, to where they're going to pay the consequences of your inability to take any action because you're so scared of losing everything. You're constantly living your life playing defense versus experiencing what it feels like to play offense there and push the operation forward. And so the other consequence though from dealing with this and this type of situation here that I'm talking about with this customer, where his parents were second generation, him being third generation, he wanted them to be open to expanding the operation, right? The family had a lot of equity on the balance sheet. He had a lot of different ideas. He was a strategic thinker. He did a great job there, really, carving out and getting clear on what every possible scenario was that could happen from the decisions they were making. So nothing was careless, right? Everything was calculated and strategic and well thought through. But at the end of the day, his parents taking over the operation at the age they did and in the time frame they did in the 80s, which we all know what happened in the 80s when it came to the ag industry, they ultimately lived in this place of scarcity. And after a couple years, he got fed up and said, I'm just not going to be here then. I don't want to take over the operation, because from his point of view, he was wasting the prime years of his life to be able to really grow and expand the operation. His best working years where he was the most fit and just healthy and things like that. He saw this as a massive opportunity being wasted for him by his parents not letting him grow the operation and use the assets there that he was one day going to inherit anyway. But at the end of the day, he got so tired of waiting on them because of their scarcity mindset and their unwillingness to do anything that he wanted to do. He moved on. Right. And so those are some of the consequences here that you need to understand from one generation to the next, depending upon what, time frame they took over the operation in or what time frame they were born in. Right. We have to look at all these things that really make up why a person sees the world the way that they do and where they really got the scarcity mindset. So we can try to navigate it the best we can. But at the end of the day, if you're in a position like this customer was, where his parents just weren't moving, yeah, people will get to a point where they're like, I'm done. Right. And so if you're the parent that may be stuck in scarcity right now, doesn't want to lose anything, you're constantly playing defense, I'm not saying that's wrong, but if the next generation is wanting to expand and stuff, I'm saying there's got to be kind of this song and dance that happens there, right? There's got to be a little bit of give and take there. Ultimately, you got to be willing to play ball at some level, but at the same time, the younger generation that wants to take it over and they want to do all these things, guess what they have to provide? Strategic game plans and calculated risk, that we're not just shooting from the hip and guessing and hoping things work out. We need a well thought out game plan from that party as well. So I'm not just saying, one is right and one is wrong. There's got to be a common ground for both parties here in order to make sure the operation is moving forward. But at the end of the day, if you are trapped in scarcity, it is going to be extremely difficult to change that person's mindset, because that scarcity is rooted in some type of experience that they went through. Like my parents, for example, that lost everything. I know that my mom, for example, lives in scarcity a lot of times, right? Because she went through that period of not having anything. And who could blame her, right? I guarantee you, I would probably have some of that built into me as well if I would have lived through what they lived through. But at the same time, though, we have to just try to be aware of that so we can make course corrections from there and just try to do a little bit better going forward. All right, guys. Now, the last topic or bucket that we're going to be talking about is a farmer that I would call confidently strategic. Now, for a lot of our customers that are coming into Legacy Farmer, they're kind of in one of the two other buckets when they first come in. They've either been impulsive with decisions or they've been scared to make decisions. And at the end of the day, the number one way that we can solve both of those problems, whether you're impulsive or living in scarcity, is to know where you're at financially, getting your operation and taking it from a place of chaos and disorganization to a place of confidence and clarity. And that's where this whole term comes up for being somebody that's confidently strategic. Because when our customers inside a Legacy Farmer and using our software called Farmer Metrics are making any type of financial decision, they are looking at everything through a clear lens. Their numbers, they're structured, they're organized, they're updated, and we're also game planning out any different scenarios that could come to pass if they do make this decision or if they don't, right? We're weighing the pros and cons of both sides here, because at the end of the day, I am sick and tired of people inside of this industry guessing. Their only strategy is hope and praying that things work out this year. And they're guessing with $100,000, multi-$100,000 or multi-million-dollar decisions here with 10 to 20 year commitments, depending upon the loan size and terms and things like that, to where, yeah, it's just unbelievable that people are guessing here. We want our customers to have just a level of financial certainty to where they have this confidence when they're making any decision. And there's a strategy behind it. It's not just because this opportunity came up. No, it fits into the overall strategy of the operation. And when you have a person that is well structured, well organized, knows what they're doing, is really calculating everything, and it fits into their strategy, there's a different energy around this person. You may know some of those people in your life there, but you can just feel it, right? They have this humbly confident type of attitude there. That's why they fit into this bucket, right? Because they're not careless with anything. They're not shooting from the hip. They're also not scared to take risk and things like that, but everything is calculated, which is why we call them confidently strategic farmers, because they're just really thinking through things at a deep, deep level. And I think this is where we all want to get to, where we want to aspire to be. And at the end of the day, it starts with just getting your numbers structured and organized. And that is going to be the number one thing that solves your problems. If you're an impulsive financial decision maker where having the numbers put together is going to cause you to create space to maybe hit the brakes a little bit. But also too, if you're scared and you live in scarcity, well, man, maybe looking at the numbers is going to give you permission to make some of these decisions and take some of these risks that you just normally wouldn't take because of things that you experienced earlier in your life. So guys, like I mentioned, if you find yourself in this place where you're either living in, as an impulsive farmer or somebody that's stuck in scarcity, it all starts with just getting the numbers structured and organized so you know where the heck you're at financially. And this is exactly what we do inside of Legacy Farmer with our software called Farmer Metrics. We've built out a proven process working with 300 plus family farm operations since 2019. And so we've been around the block a few times when it comes to this. This process has produced consistent results time and time and time again, and taken people from a place of chaos and disorganization to a place of confidence and clarity when it comes to their finances and their operation and just where they're going into the future. So if you have interest in that and you'd like to have a free call with our team, you can do that by clicking the link below, and we'll see you on the call.